Hello out there, welcome to Marriage Without Tears channel. It's my privilege to also minister to you once again. My name is Felix Okeke. I am your marriage counselor and coach. As you can see this morning, I'm dressed in a very sporty fashion because what we are going to do is kind of a self-evaluation, and it's going to be a playful thing. I really want you to enjoy this. I'm not going to be too serious today. I'm just going to relate the topic of today is very, very wonderful. We are going to be looking at 20 questions for wives. How to know whether you actually know your husband. That is the topic we are dealing with today. And we're going to relate it in form of 20 questions. You are going to pick up a pen and paper as a woman. Sit back. As you hear the question, write down your own answers. And let your husband do the same. Let him also get a pen and paper and do the same, so that at the end of the 20 questions, we gather together and then we look at the questions one by one and your answers, and we see where a little bit of errors or where a little bit of adjustment is required to be made. In some churches or other places where we have done this, we designed it in such a way that the man backs the woman and you do this. You can do that in your churches, you can do that any other place, so that you get more, you have revelations about one another. You understand one another at a deeper level. I've actually put down 20 questions here, and it's very, very important. As you listen to that, I pray that you get blessed by that too, and you also hear you get to understand deeper side of this. What is our first question? What is your husband's date of birth? Do you know that so many women don't even know the date of birth of their husband? Some people don't even celebrate their husband's birthday. And I know that in the life of so many men, that date is very, very important to them. I was invited to a home one day where I helped in, settling a rift between a man and his spouse, simply because the wife just picked up her bag and left and went her own business on the man's birthday. The man invited a lot of people for his birthday, and the wife was not there. It nearly tore the marriage. So, what is your husband's birthday? Very, very important. Write it down right now. And of course, what is your husband's actual height? That is our second question. What is his actual height? Is he 1 meter, or 1.5 meters, or 1.9 meters, or is he a 6-footer? What is his actual height? You ought to know that as a woman. Don't imagine it. You ought to know that. It will help you when you are selecting his wears, his trousers, his shirts. It will help you. What is his height? You ought to know that. Write it down right away and let the man also do the same. I hope we are getting it. Number 3, what is your husband's shoe size? I know so many women out there, every time, all the time, they want the man to buy presents for them. They want the man to bring this, to bring that, to give them this. But what about you going to the market to buy a pair of shoes for your husband? And do you imagine how it will be that you go to the market and you don't understand, you don't even know your husband's shoe size, and you are beginning to look at the legs of other people to imagine how your husband's leg look like? No, you ought to know the shoe size of your husband. Write down his shoe size right now and let the man do the same. Madam, write it down. That's wonderful. I hope we are getting somewhere. And of course, what is your husband's most favorite meal? I think you should know that. Especially if you are the woman of the kitchen, you should know that. That shows also that you know your husband's delight when it comes to cuisine. You should know that your husband's desire. You may not know that if it's always the house helps or the housemaids or the servants that prepare. You may not know that. But as a woman, you ought to know your husband's most favorite meal. Very, very important. We always have a saying that the way to a man's heart is through his belly. If you don't know how to prepare what he loves most, you may never get to the in-depth, the inside of his heart. So, what is your husband's most favorite meal? Write it down right now. Very, very important. And let your husband do the same. We go to number 6. What is your husband's nickname while in school? Years ago, while he was yet in school, what was his nickname? I know some people even carry their nicknames from the secondary school to the university some people are still bearing their nickname till today. I know of a man who still bears his nickname, Dizzy Achimota. That is his nickname. He used to bear it then. And they are still calling him the same name, Dizzy Achimota. When I was in school in those days, they used to call me Seaman. Seaman. Can you imagine? Seaman. I had never been to sea. I don't know how to swim. Yet they were calling me Seaman. I bet that my wife don't even know that. Please don't tell her when you see her. So what is your husband's nickname while he was in school? Write it down. And let your husband also do the same. Very, very important indeed. Very important indeed. And of course, what does your husband do whenever he is angry? Very, very important. What does he do whenever he is angry? You know, some people throw tantrums when they are angry. They throw tantrums. They do all manner of things. What does your husband do? Some people keep silent. I know in those days, anytime I'm angered about a particular thing, I keep silent. I don't talk anymore. I become moody, but I keep silent. But over time, that has changed. What does your husband normally do whenever he's angry? Some people throw even their television set. Some people will throw their handset, their phone sets at you. So what does your husband do whenever he's angry? Please write it down. It's very, very important. Very important. And number 8, if your husband is in a coma, God forbid, God forbid, God forbid. But supposing your husband is in a coma, and the doctors invite you inside the ward, and they say, speak a word to your husband that will make him to wake up. Your husband is hearing you. He's in a coma, he's hearing you. Speak a word to him that will make him come back to life. What are the words you will speak to him? What are those words? Write down those words. I believe the man is enjoying this. So as a man, also write down what you will wish you hear from your wife if you're in a coma. Something you will wish to hear from her that will make you to wake up if you're in a coma. Write it down. It's very important. And that is your 8th question. And of course, your 9th question, if you need to sing a love song that will make your husband's heart to melt, what will the song be? You need to sing a love song that will make your husband's heart to melt. I mean, it can be secular song, it can be Christian song, it can be cultural song. What is that song that you can sing to your husband who possibly is angry, who possibly is depressed, who possibly is confused, who possibly is disappointed about an issue, but there is a song he could hear from you that will cause his heart to melt. Possibly he's angry towards you. What is that song? As a woman, write that song down. And as a man, what song do you desire to hear from your wife in moments like this? Also write it down. Very important. We are going to compare notes like I told you. And have you actually subscribed to this channel? Please do so. There's a red button by my side. Click on that red button, get subscribed immediately, because this is an awesome channel. I want you to be part of this channel. Do you know that next week we're going to be doing this similar thing, but this time around we're going to focus on the men. But for today, we are focusing on the woman. So please, click on that red button, get subscribed as we go on. And our 10th question, what do you consider as your husband's greatest area of weakness? What is his greatest area of weakness as a husband? Possibly he's dishonest, or is he a womanizer, or is he a spendthrift, or is he somebody that is extravagant with money, or is he somebody that is never there for you, or is he somebody that is, riddled with poverty, and is he possibly he's a drunkard, or he drinks a lot of gallons of beer, or he smokes too much. What are the areas of weakness you have seen in the life of your husband? What is it? So I want you to pen it down and let your husband also do the same. That is your 10th question. Number 11, mention 3 of your husband's greatest areas of strength. What are his greatest areas of strength? You need to know that as a woman, because when you know the areas of his strength, you will know how to also help him to be magnified in that area. Possibly he's a very humble person. Possibly he's a very honest person. Possibly he's hardworking. What are his greatest areas of his strength? Possibly he's somebody that loves God. He's somebody that is very vibrant in his Christian life. What is his greatest areas of his strength? Possibly he's a sound family man. You need to know his greatest areas of strength. Mention 3 of them. Let your husband also do the same as we move on. That is your 11th question. And of course, your 12th question. When was the last time your husband visited his hometown, his village, to see his, to see his community, to see his people? When was the last time? Or is he simply living in the city every year just like that? Write down the date. If you don't know the day, write down the month and the year when he last visited his hometown, to see his parents, to see his uncles, to see his community, to be part of whatever development project is happening in his community. When was the last time your husband visited his community? Write it down and let your husband also do the same. And of course, the 13th question, what exactly does your husband do for a living? There are so many women out there who don't actually know what their husband does for a living, as long as the money comes in. But it ought not to be so. You need to know what your husband does for a living. He doesn't go out every morning and come back and all you are interested is about the money. So that he doesn't get arrested one day for a crime and you become surprised and you begin to be angry or disappointed. You ought to know what he does for a living. So write it down right now. What does your husband do for a living? If he's involved in a life of crime, you will know how to minister to him to get out of it. If he is doing a righteous task, you also know how to help him to achieve his vision. Very important. What does your husband do for a living? Write it down. You must try as much as possible to understand what your husband does for a living. What does he do that brings food to the table? I mean, you ought to know that. And write it down if you do, and let your husband also do the same. Very, very important indeed. As we go to the 14th question, what was your husband's what is your husband's greatest challenge in life? What is his greatest challenge in life? I mean, something that gives him sleepless nights. What is your husband's greatest challenge in life? Possibly he wants to escape poverty. Possibly he wants to get a better education. Possibly he wants to attain a certain height in life. What is his greatest challenge in life? What is it that when he remembers it, sometimes he does not sleep? What is that thing? You need to write it down and let him also do the same. And then, of course, number 15, who is your husband's closest ally? Who is his closest friend? Somebody you can run to, especially when you are looking for him. I mean, you have looked everywhere. Somehow you desire to know, where is your husband? Somebody you can pick up a phone and call and say, have you seen my husband today? Or is he in your area? Who is his greatest ally? You need to know that as a woman. Very, very important. And that is your number 15. Before I go to the 16th question, I want to also ask you, have you subscribed to this very particular channel? You need to do that. We are doing a 20-point question today for the woman. And of course, next week, we will also do the same for the man. So that both of you as husband and wife need to understand one another at a deeper level. That is what we seek to achieve through the concept of this channel. And can I go to number 16? How many times does your husband wake up at night before dawn? How many times does he wake up at night before dawn? I mean, you have retired to bed in the night, and before dawn, how many times? Once, twice, 3 times? Possibly he wakes up to go and wee-wee, or possibly he needs to say a few words of prayers. How many times does he wake up at night before dawn? Write it down and let your husband also do the same. Very, very important. As we go to number 17, what vision does your husband have that he desires to achieve in the next 5 years? Do you know that as a woman, you have been called as a helpmate to help your husband to achieve that vision, to attain that height? Now, if you don't know what he's trying to achieve, how can you be of relevant help to him? So now is the opportunity. I want you to write down clearly, what is it that you think your husband desires to achieve in the next 5 years? Write it down. Your husband should also do the same. We are going to compare notes at the end of these 20 questions. So we go to the 18th question. The 18th question. What are the 3 major areas you have observed great changes in the life of your husband since you got married? From the moment you got married till now, what are the 3 areas of dramatic change? 3 areas that you have observed some serious change in the life of your husband. I mean, life is not stagnant, you know that. There must be either improvement or maybe a running down. So, is it that your husband is growing? Is he maturing spiritually? Or has he become more like a backsliding Christian? Or has your husband become, he does no longer care about anything spiritual? Or maybe, so what are the areas of change you have observed in the life of your husband since you got married? Oh, maybe you married him as a very poor person, but now he has acquired so much wealth. Maybe he used to be dishonest, but now because of his spiritual life, he has improved in that area. He's now a very decent and honest person. So what are the areas, 3 areas you can say that changes have occurred in his life since you both got married? Very, very important. Put it down. We want to look at it. And of course, number 19. Can you honestly describe your husband's relationship with God? Can you honestly describe your husband's relationship with God? I just wrote about 3 options here, so you can choose one of them to describe his relationship with God. And as you are doing so, he will also do the same. Option A, very wonderful relationship. Option B, not too hot, not too cold. Option C, very poor and terrible relationship. Those are the 3 options. Write down your husband's relationship with God. Please be honest about it. Very, very important. And then, of course, we finally go to number 20. Number 20. Before I do that, I ask you again, please, have you subscribed to this channel? Please click this red button and get subscribed. Be a part of what we are doing. It's very important. It will help your marriage. It will increase your joy and harmony and peace in your home. So click on this red button, get subscribed. Most importantly also, we are doing another 20 pointer for the man by next week. You need to be part of what we are doing. Click on it, and of course, click on the bell so that anytime we put up a video, you will also receive it with joy. Number 20, what does your husband love? What does your husband love? As a woman, I'm asking you, what is the number 1 thing your husband loves more than any other thing? What does he love as an individual? What does he love more than any other thing? Oh, possibly he loves his God more than any other thing. Possibly he loves his work more than any other thing. Possibly he loves you more than any other thing. Possibly he loves his children more than any other. So what can you pinpoint as the most important love in the life of your husband? What does he love most? Write it down. And ask him, has he finished writing his own? So that both of you can get your notes together and read it together and compare notes and be able to discern how much you know him, what you don't know about him, so that, he can also enlighten you in those areas where he thinks you have made some errors or mistakes. This is a joyful test. It's a self-evaluation. Next week, don't mind. Next week, we will be doing the same thing for the man. And please also be attentive so that both of you can gather yourself together and rejoice in your marriage. I bless God for your lives. I thank God for giving us the opportunity to, share this morning. And I believe God that next week you also keep faith with this channel.